Welcome to Uber. A reliable ride is always just minutes away.
In 2016, Uber said that it is selling its operation in China to a rival Chinese ride-sharing company, TT Chuxing.
After 2 years of operation in China, and after a long process, we come to a hard decision. We decided to sell our operation in China to TT Chuxing. That is the best decision we come to. Thank you.
Cheng Wei, as the CEO of TT, will get a seat on Uber's board as part of the deal. Kalanick, CEO of Uber, will get the same on TT Chuxing board, and Uber gets around a 20% share of the Chinese company, which will run Uber Chinese operation as a separate brand. This acquisition happened because China is an incredibly complex market that differs culturally, politically, and economically from the United States or the origin country of Uber. Besides that, China's infrastructure, financial markets, and banking system are underdeveloped relative to those in the West, making it difficult for Western firms to operate in China as they do at home. And finally, Chinese consumer tastes are so different from Westerners. Uber had truly wanted to succeed in the fastest growing market, one where taxi drivers outnumber their US counterparts tenfold. The company's losses were mounting in a bid to win market share. When Uber entered the Chinese market, it soon learned it had to change its core product. At first, customers had to validate credit card information before opening an account. This presented a major obstacle for many potential Chinese users. Uber China recognized this disadvantage in its business approach. And just in time, for the formal launch, Uber added the option of payment through Alipay. Uber's formal launch in China came in February 2014 with the introduction of luxury car services in 3 Chinese cities: Shanghai, Guangzhou, and Shenzhen. After that, Uber continued to use Google Maps to locate and match customers with drivers. But Google Maps coverage in China was extremely limited and notoriously inaccurate, forcing the company to redesign its software. Baidu, an economically powerful and politically connected company, was now in Uber's inner circle of investors. Uber China had also installed servers on Chinese soil to prevent its operation from getting disrupted while passing over China's notorious firewall. In that year also, Uber expanded its offering to include a cut-price service, People's Uber, which allows anyone who clears a background check to overrides in their personal vehicles. Yet even after making its core product more attractive to Chinese customers, Uber had to spend hugely to attract drivers and riders. New users were attracted to the platform by large discounts on their first trip, often equivalent to the full cost of the ride. Similarly, drivers were encouraged to join the service by giving bonuses. By the end of the year, Uber had captured about 1% of the Chinese ride-sharing market. Meanwhile, the 2 major Uber competitors, TT and Kuaiti, announced their merger, with the merged company becoming TT Chuxing, formerly known as TT Kuaiti. And it was ready to give Uber a serious fight. These companies are backed by Alibaba and Tencent, 2 of the major interest giants in China. TT Chuxing is by far the largest ride-sharing group in the country at the time and the best capitalized. TT has operations in more than 400 Chinese cities and is profitable in half of those, while Uber initially focused on China's larger cities, later in more than 50 with a plan to reach 120 cities. At first, TT and Kuaiti were only providing services for customers to hail taxi. They give subsidies to the drivers to fetch the customer. One immediate result of the merger in 2015 was that TT and Kuaiti started spending less on taxi subsidies and instead took aim at the private car hailing market. Their subsidies for private car rides soared, costing the newly combined company $270 million during the first 5 months of the year. The use of subsidies turned Uber's business model on its head. Typically, Uber takes a cut of about 25% of the passenger's fare and passes the rest of the fare on the driver. Costs are kept low because Uber doesn't employ the driver or own the cars. However, in China, Uber pays driver a multiple of the passenger's fare, meaning that the company loses money on the most rides as other Chinese ride-hailing companies employ a similar strategy. Due to the subsidy given, Uber was reportedly losing $1 billion a year in China in battling a profitable and well-connected local competitor in TT Chuxing for market share. The subsidies done are pernicious, not only because they drain cash, but also because they max the level of demand and supply. Peng, Uber's Asia business head, said, "You can go out spend a bunch of money in a city and gain some market share. That's not real." Uber's problems seem unstoppable. In Chengdu, Uber drivers number 42,000 yearly, as the same as the number of Uber drivers in London, Paris, and San Francisco combined. But the company's capital investment had an unintended consequence. It gave rise to a rampant economy for drivers faking trips for personal profit.
News. I'm Rachell Imanuel that will be with you for the next 5 minutes. Today news is about Uber in China, who successfully gained 1% Chinese market share by a lot of suffering. Not only through loss from a huge amount of subsidies to drivers and attract customers, Uber had also faced unintended consequences. Many Uber drivers had faking trips for her personal profit. Right now, my partner Shita already on site with Uber driver. Shita, are you there?
Well, now I will interview one of Uber drivers. So,
你多大了？我25岁。你当优步司机多久了？我当优步司机3个月了。你当优步司机挣得多吗？挣得还算可以。优步经常给我们奖金，这也就是我们为什么经常跑空车。别的司机也经常这么做吗？是的，很多司机都会这么做。Okay, thank you so much for your time. Now back to Rachell.
Okay, thank you Shita. Okay, that's all for today news. I'm Rachell Imanuel. Thank you. Goodbye.
In the end, it wasn't competition that spelled Uber demise in China. It was impending national regulations. Uber was negotiating with TT Chuxing as a new regulatory scheme was being written by the government. The nationalization of industry regulation was bad news for a startup that depended on local variants and gray zone. On July 28, 2016, China grants legal status to ride-hailing services. Uber agreed to sell its Chinese business to TT. In exchange for its China operations, Uber will receive a 20% minority stake in TT and a $1 billion equity investment from the Chinese firm. The government made policies that would only allow local city residents to drive for car-hailing apps. That spells trouble for Didi as most of its chauffeurs in those cities wouldn't qualify. In Shanghai, less than 3% of its 410,000 private drivers meet the standard. Besides the policy, Uber and Didi drivers must have 3 years of experience and have no criminal record. It's unclear whether it was pure luck or Uber took precautions against policy risks, but Travis's move now seems quite genius.
What do you think about Uber now in China after the acquisition? Do you think Uber made a good decision or not?
所以想问你一下，你是怎么看待优步被并购这件事情？你觉得优步卖给滴滴是否是一个正确的选择？
事实上，优步决定卖掉其在中国的市场是非常明智的决定，因为在其卖掉之后，中国政府就出台了相关规定。其规定，像这种打车软件的司机必须拥有3年的驾龄，而且得是当地居民和拥有一种能在各个城市都能驾车的驾驶证。在优步卖掉其在中国不盈利的公司以后，他还能获得10亿美金的现金和获得17.7%的滴滴打车公司的股份。
Actually made a good decision by selling their operation in China, because not long after acquisition, the government legalized the regulation. The drivers now need to have at least 3 years of experience of being a driver. They need to be a local resident to drive it, and Uber needs to have license to operate in every city. So Uber decision is good as they sell their unprofitable company while getting cash injection of $1 billion and 17.7% ownership in Didi.